Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special joint episode. All of the joint episode, I'm special. But anyway, a joint episode of Carry On Friends and Reels and Rhythms. And as always, I have my co-host with the most style to the vibes, Mikelah. Wagwan.
Wagwan, wagwan, wagwan.
All right. And we are well excited because we have Tristan Barrocks and we have Donisha Prendergast. And we want to welcome them to the show with the most excitement. Run the sound effects, please.
Hey, big up yourself, big up yourself. Hello, my name is Tristan Barrocks. I am a director and writer, Jamaican Canadian director and writer, and just one of the creatives that are behind the amazing film called Sugar Dumplin, starring Oliver Samuels and Chantal Riley. And I'm going to toss it off to my amazing co-producer and amazing artist and filmmaker, Donisha. Go ahead, jump in.
All right. Wagwan people, I am Donisha Prendergast, born in Jamaica, grew up around the world, and I'm continuing to evolve as an artist. I'm an actress, writer, director, producer, cultural curator, and we continue to respond. And so now I'm exec producing on Sugar Dumplin, and we're really excited to be here to talk about it.
Yep.
Wonderful. All right. So let's kick it off, right? I'm good, sitting on my desk and somebody say, Kerry, look here, boom, drop it, a trailer. And it's the one Oliver Samuels and this Sugar Dumpling trailer. So we're going to get to a lot of things. But Tristan, let's start before we get to Oliver, because as everybody say, what inspired you to create this project? What was the motivation, the story behind it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a confluence of different things. I was born in Canada, but I was raised Jamaican. And so two Jamaican parents that are proud to be Jamaican, but also understand and went through an immigrant experience. And so um, growing up, I always had an issue with seeing how my culture, my people was represented, right? You know, there was, whether it was through cool runnings or any other sort of iterations of Jamaican culture, it was always very monolithical in its presentations. And so for me, you know, some of my fondest memories was growing up watching Oliver and watching also Desmond, which is more of a Trinidadian show from the UK. But one of the things that stood out to me was that it wasn't just inspiring and enlightening to me of my culture, but my parents were really deeply connected and deeply rooted in kind of reliving their childhood through the guise of Oliver Samuels and other performers like that. And so growing up, being a performer myself, growing up and being a storyteller coming from a Jamaican home, it was sort of a natural progression to want to tell a story that was from my heritage, and I want to tell it in a way that could bridge the gap between those that are part of the diaspora, so those that were born of Jamaican parents, but maybe born in another country, but still raised Jamaican and know Jamaican culture, and that is how they identify, like myself. But then also to those who are on the island that were born in Jamaica that want to see more than what they've seen, you know, Hollywood put out as the representation of Jamaican culture and Jamaican storytelling. And I think the center of this whole idea and story was really around how can we bring humanity back to us as Jamaican people, right? We're not just blunts, you know, bumbo, whatever, and whatever, all those other things that people think we are, right? And so, you know, whether it was speaking with a Donisha or speaking with my wife, who is you know, a Jamaican as well, there was this sort of deep desire to, like, how do we now show the many folds of what it means to be Jamaican, be human, and to export that, like, kind of reclaim our story and export that to the world. So that's where it really came from.
Well, you said so many in there, and I just like you're just hitting on all the things that resonate with Mikelah and I. But I'm gonna let Mikelah ask a question if she wants to.
Yeah, I was actually curious. How did you connect with Denisha, and what is the connection there to kind of co-create this project?
Yeah, so Denisha and I have kind of, it was so weird because we kind of were fond and respecting each other's crafts from afar, but we didn't we didn't really know each other like deeply until recently, probably in the last year, I was at a screening. I saw Donisha and I said, "Hey, my name's Tristan, and I'm working on a film." And she's like, "No, I know who you are, and like I know some of the people that you know." And then we just like had a conversation maybe a couple weeks after, and we just hit it off. There was so much that we had in common, and so much things that we were passionate about, specifically around like reclaiming and redefining the storytelling aspect of things. But also, one of the things that really stirred things inside of me was just Denisha's passion for like the social impact part of it. It's not good enough. Like, as creatives, Black creatives, we have a responsibility not only to just create entertaining work, but work that's going to have impact and lasting legacy. And so one of the things that I'm learning, through just the guise of how she's leading the project, specifically within the social impact area of things, through Humanity Over Vanity, is just that idea of like, we got to have more purpose behind this, right? And not to say that we didn't, but the purpose has to be actually worked out and exhibited in practical ways. And so I'm super grateful to have her as a part of the project, because she's just been bringing so much needed life and so much needed intentionality to it. So I'll throw it over to her if she wants to add anything to that.
In adding to that, Donisha, maybe you can, let's go back a little bit, because I realized we jumped in and didn't quite give the audience a synopsis of what the project is. And then from there, you can tell me, the impact that you hope that this project has on humanity. So go ahead.
Sure. Sugar Dumplin is a short film that seeks to propel a story, insight into a relationship between a father and a daughter. Father who is navigating a new space in his life, being recently diagnosed with dementia, and a daughter who is now navigating having to, like Tristan says, love somebody who you don't really like at this moment because of years of lost moments, misunderstanding, distance. Now we're at an age, and all of us are at this age where our parents are aging, and we're also realizing that our parents were also young people at some point, trying to figure it out along the way. So we are also learning new lessons about grace on the go. And I think, like, for me, just kind of bringing it back now and talking about the impact, outside of helping to exec produce the film as an audience member and a community member, I am now so much more hyper aware of dementia, Alzheimer's, just the challenges of aging that my mother or my grandmother is dealing with in a different way, and seeing that this is an experience that many people are having across the board, but may not have tools to navigate the generational trauma that we're also seeking to heal as we grow. So Sugar Dumpling, such an affectionate name, really creates an opportunity for us to challenge stereotypes and platform stories from spaces that we would otherwise have called just a Black story, and now redefining it as a Jamaican Canadian story, as a Jamaican story that lives in Canada. Because like Tristan has said to me before, even though he grew up in Canada, he grew up in a Jamaican household in Canada. And Jamaica resides wherever Jamaicans are.
Please say that again. Please say that again. Thank you.
Yeah, Jamaicans and Jamaican stories reside wherever Jamaicans are.
I love this because it's something that, again, is so entrenched in Carry On Friends style and vibes, reels and rhythms. Because when we say Caribbean broadly, right, it's wherever we occupy space and the experience that comes from that. But if I should put Caribbean, automatically they think geographically the region and not necessarily the spaces. Tristan, before we hit record, you were talking about Jamaican born and, defining that. Me, no really pay attention to that. If your mother, father Jamaican, you are Jamaican. And if you can get a Jamaican passport, even if you're born here, you are Jamaican. I don't subscribe to this and that. And that, to Denisha's point, that came out of my experience meeting my cousin the first time when I moved to Brooklyn 30 years ago, and she know nothing else but bully beef and rice and all the things that somebody in Jamaica growing up would know. So why would I say she's less Jamaican because she just born here? She knows nothing else but a Jamaican culture. And I love that you're saying that we're realizing that, yo, we're all one. So talk to me about that experience for you. I think you and Michaela share a similar
Yeah.
experience. I believe Donisha and I born at Jamaica. So you, both of you can, particularly you, Tristan, talk about that experience being the Yankee foreign born Pitney and
Mhm.
seeing the evolution of that, as you were saying, acceptance or bridging of a gap between, those born in the country or the region versus those born here.
You know, I have to acknowledge right off the bat the extreme privilege I have, um, that my parents sacrificed and to give me, to leave everything that was common and was comfortable for them and made sense to them, to leave a warm climate, to leave all of their family members, to literally swing to the fences for a dream that they couldn't even articulate, so that I can sit down here now and project those dreams on screen, right? The other day, my dad, who has a very heavy Jamaican accent, was like, Tristan, I just have to tell you, I'm just so proud. I'm so proud of all my kids. I'm just so proud of how you guys just come. I couldn't even imagine. I'm in Spain right now. We're filming this and we're sharing this. And man, I just can't express. And like, for me, Donisha's smiling because she knows that's exactly how my dad sounds. But for me, that's the essence of what we're talking about. Going back to the main point, growing up, it was really weird for me because I grew up in my home. We spoke patois, we ate bully beef, we did all the things. We also ate obviously some Canadian food, but then and so I felt comfortable there. But then when I would go outside of my home, I had to assimilate to a culture that was not my own, right? And that's a very familiar experience for many people that are born elsewhere but that are raised Jamaican. And it wasn't until I got married, really, and I have very Jamaican in-laws, and so everything is just super Jamaican, right? I love it. And it wasn't until I got married to my wife and we went, I think, on a couple different trips. The first trip we went back together, we went to Jamaica, and I remember waking up and looking outside and looking at like the rolling hills and seeing the smoke coming out of the chimneys, and like feeling this deep desire to connect with an island that I never really got an opportunity to go back to and visit a lot. My parents weren't well off. They had 4 kids. We didn't get to go to Jamaica. We went to Jamaica for funerals, or if we were 2 years or younger. Okay, we all know the flex, right? We all know it. Like, let's right.
Lap child, no fear.
Right, exactly. And so for me, I have started to go through, when I started to go back to Jamaica, I had this deep desire to give of myself in some capacity. I didn't know how that was going to show up, but I knew that I had a passion for storytelling. I had a passion for this island that has given me so much identity that I could finally kind of wrap my arms around, or they could wrap my arms around me. And so this journey of writing the short film Sugar Dumplin was really a process of me fully embracing the fact that I can say I'm Jamaican, right? Because for a long time I felt like other, right? I'd go to Jamaica and I was the foreign, I was a boy from foreign. Look at him with him clothes and thing. You can't give me your shoes. Like, I mean, I was that guy, right? And then when I came here, it's like, oh, Tristan, you're Jamaican. Yeah, man. Hey, how are you doing? And it's like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, and so I was kind of trapped in this middle, and in writing, I wrote all the patois in the film. I wrote all the scenes with the food because I realized that I am Jamaican and this is a part of my culture and this is part of my experience. And through that, and seeing just the response of those that read the script, like when I sent it to Donisha, I have a high level of respect for her because I feel like, there's a level of credibility that she has, but also she has a deep rooted passion to see Jamaica thrive and Jamaican people thrive. And so when I started to speak to her about the project and she really saw the vision, I was like, okay, maybe you have something here, right? Maybe we can make something. And so it was, I don't know, I kind of answered the question roundabout, but I think ultimately what I'm trying to communicate to you is it was almost like a a baptism of sorts in terms of embracing my identity as a Jamaican Canadian, not rejecting my being born in Canada and the privileges that brought, but also embracing and saying, no, I am Jamaican. I'm just a different expression of Jamaican, but I'm still Jamaican, and I want to tell these stories with a level of authenticity and truth from my POV. So I hope that answers the question a little bit more.
I think it's such a full circle moment, especially for me. Being born, same, Tristan and I have the same background. Both my parents are Jamaican. My husband is Jamaican. And there are so many personal connections that I'm hearing in this story. My husband calls our youngest daughter Sugar Dumplin. My grandmother passed away, bless her heart, passed away a while ago from Alzheimer's. And I am the in-between kid that speak patois. And people often ask me if I'm like, no, I wasn't born in Jamaica, but I did have the privilege of going back and forth. And I think even recently I was expressing with my mom, I always ask her like, well, when you and daddy divorced, why didn't you go back? Because she had so a lot of my family still live there. And she was just like, well, I had already started building a community here, and so many people were coming up from Jamaica during that time. And you still had some family here. So that's why, I kind of remained here. But there is this connection to Jamaica that I always feel like Jamaica feels like home, unlike any other place. Like I get off the plane. I remember one time telling Carrie, I'm like, you remember when you used to just come off a plane and you feel the breeze hit you and you have to walk onto the tarmac going, and like you just feel so at ease, so relaxed. And even for a long time, I would just being able to turn on the TV and flip through every single channel and see people that look exactly like you.
Yeah.
That is an experience, the most simple experience that we as diaspora kids don't get to experience because we're relegated to one or two channels. So from a media perspective, and being able to see the expansion of how much culture has come to the forefront of films and media and spaces where we kind of coexist, and being able to kind of connect that bridge is so important. And especially, raising my kids and they go back and forth and that sort of thing. I think that this is such a great project. It's telling a completely different story. It's definitely family driven, and that's something that we haven't really seen. So you could have told this story without the dementia connection. Why was that important to kind of tell? Because it sounds like a complicated relationship.
Yeah.
But why add in the dementia there?
Well, I think twofold. There's two reasons for that. When you're writing a script, you want to create a crucible. You want to create a situation where people can't escape from. Your characters have to be in this place together to figure this thing out, or else the story's broken, right? Because if at any point in time a person or a character can make a choice to leave, then you really don't have a story, or you don't have a problem that needs the characters to go through it and solve, so it becomes a transformative experience, right? And so I think a part of that was just functional storytelling, right? Finding something that would cause somebody to be in a place together and figure things out together. But I think there also is a finite sort of reminder of how limited our time is. And if you knew that somebody that you loved passionately had a limited amount of time to be on this earth, what would you say? What would you do? What choices would you make to mend, to change, to communicate to that person, so that there was a level of meaningful relationship or restoration? And so there was that level of like, yo, nothing's promised to you tomorrow. So what are you choosing to do today? For there to be a level of meaning and purpose behind the interactions that we have with our loved ones or our friends, right? So there was that functional storytelling part of it, but then there's also the that sort of idea of, do we have to wait until somebody's sick in order to value them, or You know what I mean? Or do we live our lives with a sense of urgency and value, and we value those moments together? So those are the two reasons why I kind of use dementia, because again, dementia is one of those things. It's grappling, right? It's one of those uh, um, diseases that really, or I said Alzheimer's is one of those diseases that really takes away one of our most cherished things, which is our memory, which is our identity, which is our ability to remember our loved ones. Like, what would that, like, that's, we're on kind of a joint podcast, but that's worse than Thanos snapping half of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Like, right, like that's you losing who you are, right? How much more urgency would you need in order to mend a relationship?
I'm gonna come to Denisha on this, but what I love about this is we're telling a story about a disease that affects everyone, right? But through the lens of being Jamaican. My grandmother, her sister, my aunt, we shared a birthday, early onset Alzheimer's. Right now, I was the first grandchild. So, my grandmother would complain to me about my mother. And now my mother, they complain about my brother. And I say, you sound like grandma. All the things that grandma used to complain about you now complaining about my brothers, right? So I'm the middle person. But it gives me a lesson to say I have to be in mindful, self-aware, to the part Donisha saying grace on the go, right? And this idea of identity, right? Because Alzheimer's is losing the core essence of who these people are. They don't they're a fraction of who you remember them to be. So switching from identity, not from that medical sense, but from how we see ourselves on television, how culture is portrayed, or culture particularly. And you talked about reclaiming and redefining, Donisha. So talk to me a little bit about your vision for what that looks for, starting with Sugar Dumpling, but like, what is the role Mikelah and I can play with the podcast? What is the role that other people can play collectively to redefine and reclaim how we are being, our identity, and how we're being portrayed in media?
I think, I mean, first of all, you're already doing it by being present and taking up space and taking yourselves a little bit more seriously. That's been my mantra for the past couple of years to friends, family, even strangers. Like, take yourself a little bit more seriously. We live one time. People don't care as much as you think they do. You just need to care as much as you think you do. And I think one of the things that made, like, the universe is always at work. And so when the universe aligned Tristan and I was also in the process of creating an art exhibit for my grandmother called The Garden That Rita Grew. My grandma Rita. It's living in New York right now. It comes down in about 2 weeks. But saying that to say, I was in the process of understanding how important it is for the Black family to archive, and what is lost when we don't, and what happens and what limits us from archiving properly. Whether it is we travel, so we move home, so you can't carry everything in a suitcase, or some things I forgot left, or it's not as important as we think. Throw out the old to bring in the new, like all of these things. And if it wasn't for my grandmother's brother, who is my grand uncle, like, he was able to show me a drawing of my great great grandmother from the 1800s, a drawing. And saying all that to say, like, sometimes as an activist, when I'm feeling low, I have to put myself around people who remember me, who remember who I was before these moments. Because sometimes in the fight you lose yourself, you lose the confidence, or you lose the vigor, or you lose the perspective of how much has been done up until this moment. And so bringing it back to Sugar Dumpling, I think that that's one of the reasons why I embrace the project so much, because I understand how important it is for us to help our elders to remember who they were before these moments, you know? And this is a part of that work of empowering our communities to get back to our indigenous act of cultural preservation, which is storytelling.
Me say, you yesterday universe at work, me say so. Let me tell you, God sent you right here because Mikelah and I were going through prepping for our 2025 season, and storytelling is a huge thing for me, right? Like, I look at the podcast, I look at the work that we're doing in terms of how are we canonizing our culture in this way and having big and serious conversation. The jokes them need to exist and all of the excitement, but where the other conversations? And you touch a button when you say, like, when you're feeling low and you forget, who you were or your accomplishment before. That is me and Michaela every 2 months, really, and so that's a form of Alzheimer's in a way, right? You've lost yourself to the process that you don't remember who you are, and you need a Michaela or the people in the film to remind you of who you are. And sometimes they may be frustrated, like, Lord Jesus, every 2 months me have to tell her say like, but it's the grace that's part of the process. So, man,
I'll say this. It always reminds me of one of my favorite lines, cinema lines. Simba, you must remember who you are. Right? It's literally that. Like, and sometimes you need that, right? You need that moment.
Tristan, you just sidebar. You just need for come for the reels and rhythms and just elaborate, should we? Because are
Absolutely.
you name? Listen, the other day we went to a dinner and they asked Michaela to reenact the part of Belly. She go straight character with Teddy Brockshot.
Yes, yes.
And
Big up
Wow,
I,
yourself.
drip
Big up
up a
yourself.
boy.
Big up
My man,
yourself.
he's like, I didn't know I was gonna be in the scene.
Oh, that's
no,
great.
but I love it. I have some fun questions, but let's get to the big thing. So we see Oliver Samuels. As far as I know, I think this is his first film role because we've mostly seen him in theater. Is it?
Actually, no. So if you go on his IMDb, he has two for some reason, but there's one that's full with all of his credits. He actually has been in about, I would say, 6 or 7 credited film roles or television roles. Obviously, one of which is the big one, Oliver at Large. But he was actually in a movie in 1989 with Denzel Washington, starring Denzel Washington, which is shot in Jamaica. Yeah, yeah. Fun fact.
Oh, I know which movie that is.
Rising
Heidi
or
Quinn?
something. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because Shirley Ralph is in that one,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna
And
yeah.
have
so
to
is
go
my mom.
rewind
My
and
mom is
watch
also
that.
in that one.
Oh wow.
I have to go watch. No, Carrie, I forgot watch that.
We have
I'll,
to
I'll,
yeah, let's watch it. Add it to the list for reels and rhythms. Watch.
All right,
Yes.
me all right it though.
So I don't know if it's Donisha or Tristan, whoever wants to take it. What was it like working with the Oliver Samuel? Box me now? Box me. Anyway, sorry.
no, no, no. It's all good. Everybody has a moment, right? Everybody has a moment. Let's take off the pork. I give you the fall. But yeah, no. But I think so. Working with Oliver, Oliver is a world class savant. He is a artist. He takes his work very seriously, but he has a level of warmth and care and love and obviously humor that he carries himself with. And so oftentimes when people ask me how was it like working with Oliver, the best way I can describe it is by saying it was like when people say don't meet your heroes because you might be disappointed, it was the exact opposite. It was meeting a hero, somebody who shaped not only how I saw myself, but saw the community, saw humor, specifically West Indian humor, and specifically my own personal humor influenced it quite a bit. And I met him and worked with him, and he was just so gracious and caring. I mean, he started out as a colleague or as this sort of legend that I was working with, and he ended up being like my papa, and I never grew up with a grandfather, and so I adopted him as my grandfather because it was such an amazing experience. It felt like there was a level of almost like transferring of a legacy or the baton to the next generation. Like everybody could feel like we wanted to honor him, and in honoring him, he felt comfortable with like being like, you guys need to keep on doing this and creating these and telling these stories. And we felt that sort of the mantle of what that weight is, what I mean, of making sure that we follow through on Sugar Dumpling, but then other productions, because this can't just stop at Sugar Dumpling. It has to continue on. And so it was wonderful. It was spiritual. It was a blessing, and it was hella funny. So that's what it was like working with Oliver. Donisha can talk too because Donisha know Oliver a long time.
Yeah, so it's raining in Florida now. Can you hear me well still?
Yeah, man, it's the ambiance. Let's
It's a
work with it.
ambiance. It's a ambiance. Yeah. Yeah. So I've known Oliver since I was maybe like 17. I'm about to be a lot older than 17 right now. Um, that's over 25 years that I've known Oliver Samuel since I started out acting in theatre. Oliver has always been a giant, but a gentle giant, one who was always willing to mentor and be open and critical and honest and accountable as somebody who carries such a legacy. And just like Tristan said, for me, when I understood all of the elements of the story, not just the story, the premise, but also the opportunity of being able to honor a living legend, it was just like, all right, what we go hard with this one? Because how often do you get a chance to roll out a red carpet for Oliver Samuels to walk on? You know, Oliver, just like you said, you weren't sure if Oliver has ever done film before. He wasn't around when black film or whatever was exploding. Now he's older. His, you know, so it's up to us to be like, all right, guess what? You never missed a train. See your moments here too. Here are your accolades. You know, and it's a joy to be able to honor our living legends. You know, just like Tristan said, I too never really grew up with my grandfather on my mother's side, anyways, but I know of the legacy and it lives. And so I have a very keen insight on why it is important for us to honor our living legends. You know, give them a chance to tell their own story too.
And I think also like it's so funny because both of us again have different separate experiences when it comes to Oliver. But they're both meaningful, and we both, I think at one point Denisha and I looked at each other. We're like, listen, there's Bob, there's Usain, there's Oliver. Like these are our legends. Like Oliver is no less of a legend, a Jamaican ambassador of Jamaican culture and entertainment and legacy and love and passion than any of those other individuals. And I would argue in some ways like he has 40 years of doing this. 40 years? Like I mean like we just need to make sure that we are intentional about not just saying, "Hey, thank you for making us laugh," but thank you for existing and having the imagination to create us and reflect us on screen. I go back to Oliver so much because my parents watching Oliver with my parents on a Sunday afternoon in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s was a unique experience because when you are an immigrant in a new country, there is, one of my friends, David, says in another film, there's an armor that you have to carry and put on when you leave the house that's
Yeah.
not easily shed.
Yeah.
And so Oliver gave my parents permission to shed that armor and to remember, you're Jamaican. You're Jamaican.
Yeah.
You're Jamaican, right? And just allow them to relax and just let their hair down. And that's powerful. As a kid, seeing your parents go from stress, thinking about bills, all that other stuff, to just laughing and just being proud of being who they are from where they came from. And so, yeah, I think that we need to make sure that we're honoring him. And this whole rollout, even with the film festivals, is all about like, yeah, we can get it. We could easily just release this on social media. We could send this, put this on. We have streamers already asking us now to put this on streaming platforms, but we want and we believe that this story and Oliver himself belongs on the biggest stages, belongs in front of the most diverse crowds, right? And so it's not it's not about Oliver's ability. It's about him being exposed to a broader audience. You know what I mean? And I think once he gets exposed to that, I think his career, I think he's going to have a second wind.
Absolutely.
100%.
I've had the privilege of seeing Oliver perform in plays. I worked with the promoter that used to bring the Jambies plays to New York, and so seeing him perform in person with Maffy, with Glenn Titus Campbell, those were just just wonderful experiences. Like, and when I mean the crowd were coming to Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, even when they go to Connecticut, like people, and not only Jamaican, but Caribbean people, because there is something, like you said, like they get a space where, yes, it might talk my language. We know what is going on. Like he sees me. We're not putting on the air of, I come from Jamaica and, none of those things, so I am beyond excited because yes, Oliver deserves this. So before we switch to distribution, can you touch on it a little bit? Which is your favorite Oliver skit, real quick? Mikelah, I'll start with you, and then Tristan and Donisha, me giving her time to think about it.
He already knows Oliver at large.
No, you have to say it. You have to
Why?
say.
Why you gonna ask me this?
No, just say it. So just say it. We want to
You
know.
know, so when I put on my cap and
Your
then put on the
scarf.
head and then put on my ears muff.
Yes.
They look just like Oliver. Same
Yes.
way. Same
Yes.
way me I show up at the airport.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Go D. Go. You
No, I think we're all gonna say it's the same one.
No, for me, it's not the same
It's
one.
not okay. Well,
Okay.
I mean, the first time I learned about pot cover dumpling was Oliver and that Dutchie on the plane. The
Yo.
first time. Okay, and anytime the plane landing now, and you hear the people them start clap and then kind of thing here, like Oliver, for me, Oliver is also, he's a rebel in a very interesting way, because joy is a part of the rebellion. And for, just like Tristan said, for our people to be able to let down them hair and to laugh, that's a kind of reclamation of self that is happening. And Oliver has led that charge for us internationally in terms of the joy part. That's why when Tristan compare my grandfather and Oliver and Usain Bolt as leaders in these different spaces, it must be recognized that these are also rebels who are burning down Babylon, just in a different kind of way, taking up space. So yeah, the pot cover, the pot cover episode in the plane is my favorite.
Go on, Tristan.
I mean, it's a mixture of the whole airport episode, that whole 30
The
minutes.
two-part is the
Yeah,
two-part
it's
episode.
Yeah, that's the greatest, probably some of the greatest West Indian, Caribbean comedic writing of all time, and performances are extremely amazing. I wish I could have been a fly on the wall trying to act while Oliver is just acting a mess. But then also it's where he was acting like he was Rasta for that day with the parents, and he was just like, the food was looking good, and he couldn't help himself. Oh man, those two skits I go back to, and I actually, before we started shooting, my kids, I realized my kids never had seen anything from Oliver, and so to prepare them, I was like, hey, let's watch some Oliver at Large. And both of us, like my kids are 10 and 12 respectively, and we are dying laughing. And my son turned to me and said, now I understand you a little bit better, Dad. Like I get your humor. I get where you're coming from, because that was our history, right? And so that's the legacy, the power of Oliver. And quick story before we change gears. So I live in rural, outside of Toronto, about an hour and 10 minutes.
Woy.
Hey, shut your mouth.
All the way there at Choco.
Shut your mouth. Hey, up north, where polar bears live. Okay, so I live up north. Okay, and so I had Oliver close to us in the town beside us. Long story short, he said, "Oh, I have to Tristan, go to Walmart and pick up some stuff." I said, "Okay, that's fine." So we go to Walmart, and the amount of people that stopped us, it was every black person was like, I grew up watching you. Is that, hold on, is that Oliver? Is that you? And then Oliver would be, I don't know, is that me? Okay, come, let's take a picture. Come, quick. And then he wouldn't say anything to people, but you could see people like stop and then walk past him, then walk by again and be like, wait, is that you? Is that me? And it was just, but I couldn't believe it, because I've been living there in this area for over 10 years. And I know there's West Indian people there, but Oliver Samuels brought
Everybody
everybody
out of the
out.
woodwork.
I said the power
Yeah.
and the legacy. I was just like, okay, well, I guess I have no idea how big this is going to be. And so obviously the trailer dropped and the rest is history.
Yeah. My favorite one, and it's my favorite because when I went back to Jamaica to visit in 95, my grandmother shared it with me. And I guess that's why it's also my favorite. It's Irreverend Reverend when he was pretending to be the minister from foreign. And when he mother the preaching and he said,
Oh
Can't
my
take
God.
the dinner fork and juke able in him navel. Yo, that was, I was done. I was done. I was done.
It
I'm
was that
just
wig. It was that wig for
Yeah,
me.
the
That was the
wig
wig.
patch. And then he said, God will add iniquity to your iniquity. I was just like, why? The whole summer I was watching it. So that is my favorite. My favorite. So now switching gears, let's talk about distribution because that was one of the first things. Like, Mr. Mikelah, is this a Reels and Rhythms live thing? How we can do a screening, how we can support. Like, I know that the film festival route is typically where our projects get pushed for various reasons, and we just work with the program or the system where we can. But where can people get to see it? Because everybody like, yo, them a henka for the film. Like what? Like what? Where we gonna get to see it?
So it's a two-part answer to the question. I think what I'll take is I'll tackle the film festival part, and then Donisha will take care of or speak to the social impact, which will directly speak to sort of how we're going to get it to the community, because we appreciate and we acknowledge and understand like people's excitement, and we're excited too to showcase it and share it. We also understand the responsibility of we are independent filmmakers. What that means is we put the money into everything. So what you saw,
All of the money come from
all of
We
Pakistan,
get into the
Pakistan
money
state money.
parts because we
all
know
of
we
the money,
All of it.
half of it, okay?
Tristan, your mortgage, your house for pay for the
Mortgage, message, shift. No, listen,
The man sell off the picnic
listen,
them, you know.
hey, listen. The pitney them are stepping on heel and toe and getting some change and at the
them a do
subway.
boom work.
No, no.
Everything. Listen, no, this is something that I really want to say because I think it's super important. When God gives you a vision, you got to step out, right? And the miracle comes at the end of your comfort. Okay. When I say miracle, I don't mean that, something's just gonna fly out the sky. But what happened for us was, and when I say us, me and my wife Natanya, we for several years we applied for grant funding through different Canadian arts councils, tried to get funding in different capacities, and everybody passed on the project. Everybody said no, 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 we don't, we can't support it. Unfortunately, you only came up here, unfortunately, because of oversubscription, blah blah, all the stuff. And so my wife and I looked at each other, you know, earlier this year, and we said, listen, if not now, then when, right? And it came after a very pivotal or critical time, which was last fall. We were trying to get the project done, with our kind of starting it with our own financing, and then hoping to get the financing back from Arts Council, and things didn't work out in casting, and we couldn't cast our Desmond character, which is who Oliver plays. And essentially what happened was, we were really kind of like down in the dumps. And maybe a day or two later, I saw a post from Oliver and on my feed, and I had never seen a post from Oliver, and he was just doing his thing. And I sent it to one of my executive producers, Chantal Riley, and I said, hey, what do you think about Oliver? And she's like, well, do you know anybody in his camp? I was like, no. And she's like, okay, bet. Within 2 weeks, we got a hold of Oliver's team, and Oliver's team was like, yeah, we want to be a part of it. And then from there, it was just like each domino. I mean, we got some additional funding, personal funding, which we put into the project. Donisha, like we saw her at the screening of her grandfather's film One Love at TIFF, and then I had a conversation with her maybe like several months later, and we just like she was just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna help you get a sponsorship with Grace and help you with this, and my team's gonna come. And it was just things just happened and moved. And so I say all that because I want people to understand that there's a lot of sweat equity, a lot of value that's been put into this project. And for we want to be good managers of it in terms of being able to get both critical acclaim and prestige acclaim. And that's what you get through film festivals and film distribution. When you go to the festivals, what you're allowing and essentially doing is you are now broadcasting to the mainstream populace that, hey, Jamaican stories, made by Jamaicans, produced by Jamaicans, starring Jamaicans, talking about Jamaican culture, are just as important, just as powerful, just as meaningful as anything else coming out of any other country. And if we just go directly to the end consumer, then we miss out on the opportunity of marketing and broadcasting that, and allowing people in France, in Dubai, in South Africa, in UK, in Canada, and other parts of the West Indies, in South America, and Central America, in America, to see the power of us reclaiming our own stories and telling it the way we want to tell it. Right. One thing that you may have noticed with the trailer, and you'll notice once you watch the film, is we don't have any subtitles. Because guess what? When I watched the Crown, I don't have subtitles for British accents or for Irish accents. So why should we have any sort of subtitles for patois? It's okay. Learn it. Watch it again. Be submersed and immersed in a different culture, right? We don't have to have everything centralized around a Eurocentric colonial viewpoint. No, we're decentralizing the way that we tell stories. And so that's why it's important as well, is to get into those places that are so Eurocentric, that are so focused. They're all taking it from the white gaze, right? Everything is from the white gaze. Everything. Oh, we got to have it this way. We got to have these sort of plot points. We got to have a white friend. We got to have this. No, these are black, extremely black, beautiful, talented actors and performers and producers that are telling black stories that is a universal in nature, that can speak to anybody in any community. And we're just going to do it from that vantage point. And so that's the importance of doing the film festival route, as well as winning awards, getting an acknowledgement, and then also getting sponsorship and hopefully distributing it, getting a Netflix or a Paramount Plus to now say, hey, there's value in this short film. Maybe we want to develop it. Maybe we want to just put it right up on our streaming platform and get people to connect to our platform. So that's a little bit about why the importance of film festivals are in terms of the process, and why we're going that route in relationship to also doing the social impact part. So I'll throw it over to Donisha now.
Yeah, I think that was very well said, Tris, because it is complex now. Because just like you're saying, Kerry, this what they do is that they want us to make our films, take it to film festivals, and then put it on a streaming platform, and that's when you've gotten success, win a few awards. But like for me, it can't end there because it didn't start there. It started at the community. Like we took the story from the community, we brought it here, and then we brought it here. So it has to come back to the community in some way. And for me, there's something. It's like somebody trying to sell me a Bob Marley T-shirt and expect me to buy it, sir. I am not. What's the nicest way I can say this to these people? You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's the same kind of thing. Like you can't just take stories from communities and win awards and never bring it back to the community. And when the only way the community can see it is if they have a subscription to Netflix, or if they're going to pay for it in Cineplex. That's great, but at the same time, it also doesn't give the creator, the creative, an opportunity to see what his work has and can do. If we just create something and give our baby over to the distributor to go and place and exploit and do all of this, do all of that, it doesn't it almost breaks the artist. I mean, sometimes I think I get too like entangled with the work, but stories are like that. Like stories are the breath of somebody, are the memories of somebody, are, it's more than just award winning. So the social impact piece of this is where the community will be able to engage with the story, and not just with the film, but the entire project, the mission, the movement behind it, all of the tenets of it, honoring our elders, archiving in the Black family, in the Black community, mental health, which is a conversation we never have, aging parents, living internationally, and trying to maintain communities so that we can thrive. Like there are just so many conversations to have. And other levels to this too is that we want to use this opportunity because right now we've established a relationship with the Alzheimer's Association of Ontario, and we hope to pair that relationship with dementia organizations in Jamaica, because there's an opportunity here to share best practices and potentially share resources and all of that kind of thing. So this film presents itself to be a tool that can help to open up national and international conversations and explore research that has not been prioritized prior to this. So it's all of those pieces, and we're having a premiere in Jamaica in February. That's
Yes.
the first like locking
And
thing we
end of
can.
February. And can I just say one thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's super important, and both Denisha and I feel the same way about this, is that being a artist, a Jamaican artist, a Black artist, we have the responsibility of creating and being true to our art, but then also a responsibility to being true and authentic to our community. And we can't just do the commercial thing, but we recognize that being able to have a level of commercial success allows us to generate the finances to make another thing. So it's the yes and ism of everything that we do as in the Black community. And what can be powerful is when the community gets excited, they back the thing, they support the thing, they invest in the thing, because then we can make more of that thing without having to, in the words of Denisha, be associated with Babylon. Right? We don't have to now give it to a white system that was designed not for our stories and not through their filter to try and now monetize it. Like we have, just in the continent, let's just talk about Jamaica. We have millions of Jamaicans around the world, right? If each one of them just paid $1 or $5 or whatever else to contribute to projects like this, we would be able to create a sustainable film industry within ourselves, very, very similar to Black Hollywood in the States. But we have to see the vision for that. Anyway, sorry. That's
You got I
just,
thought me Ed. All right. So let me go back. So about a year ago I had someone on the podcast. She's based in the UK, but she did a short film project about dementia in Dominica, sorry. And so I could always but she's based in the UK. So if you're looking for connections, Alzheimer's organizations, all the work that she's doing there, I'll connect you. Rihanna Patterson is just doing really great work, and her entire short film, and it was inspired because of her grandparents as well, right? So again, for us, the stories are inspired by real thing I go on. You just touch upon the other thing. I was talking on another podcast with Hori, and like which part for with people them they are support with film projects, right? With a beg a system for support for with projects, but I said the system who we're asking for, they're like, where are the people? Why are your people supporting these projects? Because if our people not supporting these projects, why should we support your projects? So we as a community need to,
I
one cocoa full basket, all of these things we need for left the long
and
talking and just do
I'll say
it.
this. I'll say this to add to your point. Kerry-Ann, is like, let's really be very granular with what support looks like.
Yeah.
Support looks like both monetary investment, donating to projects, but then also showing up when we are doing things, whether we are having activations, whether, resources of time and of skill. Maybe you're a marketer, maybe you're a social media coordinator, maybe your profession allows you to have skills that are transferable because we have a smaller production company, right? It's both myself, our mid-career productions, and HOV. We have to rethink and recalibrate the way that we come together as a community. And support is not, hey, I have a free copy of it, I'm going to send it over to you now and watch it. Support is like, that's great. And I don't want to, if people don't have money, I don't want to say don't watch the film at all. But I'm saying we need to show up in the ways that will allow us to build an ecosystem and not be siloed, because the siloing is killing us as creatives, and us as a community. And then we get upset when we see a black cake and we see some mashup cracker patois, or we see
You watch
people.
my episode on
Anyways,
Black
I'm,
Kate,
I'm just
don't
saying.
it?
I'm just saying.
You
I couldn't
don't
even. It felt like I was drinking Cersei water or tea or something,
listen.
because in my mouth it was bitter. It was disgusting. I made up
Listen,
my face and I couldn't finish the thing. Anyways, that's my.
Michaela, we tell you, cut me and I couldn't bleed the way all me grieve. Lord of his mercy. But anyway, so you and Donisha have my contact. So you already know I am about that. And that's why we created Reels and Rhythms. We're like, if we look out in the space, there are a lot of other communities creating podcasts, just giving film reviews, just talking about projects that have strong Caribbean or Jamaican storyline, the director in there, all of these things. Because it, even when the people in YouTube make comments that are like, okay, fine. The whole point is you watch it, get to know these projects, get to know these actors, get to know all of these things because it's important. So, however way, me volunteer, Michaela, but me not really volunteer. Or like, however way you need help, just shoot an email and we do it, right? So,
You one can volunteer me,
no, I really love the energy and me watch it time. So I have a fun question. Me manhandle the whole conversation. So all right. Me feel like Donisha might push back on this, but everybody are reboot things now. Everybody is into reboots. Fun question. So if you were to reboot a thing, add your own flair, a little sprinkle, a little seasoning on it, what would you reboot? And give a little log line about that reboot.
Tanisha, don't. Oh man, this is a great question. I would if I could, I would actually, I'm big on sketch comedy, so I reboot Oliver at Large.
Thank you.
I wouldn't. I don't want to go into the exact details of what that would look like, but I
No
think
man,
that,
like
yeah,
keep it.
But I would
Yeah.
just say that there is something there that I think can be transformative, can be a generational opportunity, and so that's what I'd say. Oliver at Large. Tanisha's face, I can't stand.
She,
I just have to smile. I just have to smile because it's just such a an interesting question. I want to say ditto. I would also want to reboot Oliver at Large, but everything that we just explained in this entire conversation, underlining joy is the rebellion, and that's kind of what we want to do. So
love it. Love it. All right. Michaela, I'll let you close out. Me chat out the whole thing.
No, I love the conversation. I'm like, we're all on mute laughing, so people them not gonna know. But if you watch it on YouTube, you'll see all the laughter that is happening. But we're not trying to talk over each other. What would you reboot, Carrie? I would reboot Dancehall Queen. And actually put current
Shen,
day artists. I think Shensia
see ya.
versus somebody else. She would be Alavine though. She wouldn't be Marcia. She would be Alavine. She can't be Marcia. She Alavine.
We have to
And
keep
then
the names too. The
Yes,
same
yes,
statement.
same name.
Alavine and
Alavine.
Marcy.
Yeah, I forgot Cactus. The name of the club after stay. But it just needs to be
whole
rebooted.
era.
But a whole era.
All right. So me can't decide. Would I reboot Lunatic with the Paul Campbell? I love Lunatic. But also I would reboot a stage play called Boops. It
Yes.
originally had Alovine in there. What's your name again?
These
but-
names are incredible. I love these. Boops.
Audrey.
Audrey, yes.
What's
Audrey.
his name? Boops.
Listen.
Under my nose. Under my nose.
Under my nose.
Yes.
Was
Yes.
okay, well, since you're gonna say plays, I'm gonna put it out there. I would reboot Cinderella and the DJ Prince because that was my second play I ever did. But we ran for like almost 3 years straight.
Oh, wow.
And that
Wow.
time in my life was just amazing, being on stage like that. So
Yeah,
I would reboot that shit.
I would reboot a whole heap of things. Lime Tree Lane, all these things. Okay. All right. Tristan is like, what is that? All right, let's go. All right. Let's wheel it back in. Like, I don't know about the one there. But
the people them internet.
no, the JBC
No.
not have the records for them something no more. I think the
JBC
records
burned down
burned
about 3
down
or 4 times.
time, yeah.
With all of that. Again, archiving, right?
Yeah.
That's
The
crazy.
importance of
That's crazy.
archiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
do that. But again, just the artistry, the creativity that we come from, the storytelling. Like no one tells a story like a Jamaican. Every time I'm about to tell a story, Mikelah drops on the emoji that goes, "Me go so boops,"
Me go some
Hey.
cause me ready for going at this story.
Has anybody thought of like I'm surprised nobody has done like a horror suspense film
Oh,
or
all right,
project.
stop talk. Shh, shh,
It's
shh, shh,
coming,
shh. Stop
Tristan.
talk. Stop
No,
talk.
It's
Shh,
coming.
a Nancy though.
no,
It's
stop talk.
coming, I said.
Yes.
Stop talk. Shh, shh, shh,
Yeah.
shh, 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 shh.
I'm good. I'm good. I don't do horror, so I'm good.
No, me not the dopey
It
movie
doesn't have to be
either.
like a
No.
duppy, but
I'm
No,
actually
because I
working on a
really
docu movie
believe.
right
I
now.
really believe.
Yeah.
So I can't do stuff I really believe in it.
yeah,
If
yeah,
something
I
goes
will
around, I'll be
believe
like,
Listen,
no.
listen,
I mean, I can't be filming. Lord Jesus, please.
listen,
No, I can't
listen.
do that. I can't.
Yeah.
Yes. When I used to go to St. Mary to visit my mother family and we have to walk past the cemetery, one piece of sprint, we sprint for run past the because it pitch black, You ever see the outline of the tree them in our country?
Which prayer? Which prayer?
No, but this has been incredibly, incredibly just a filling conversation. I can't begin to tell you how much this has filled me with joy, right? Of being affirmed, feeling seen. And so, any last words before we wrap up this conversation? We are incredibly proud. And, if anything, the reaction is a testament to the hunger of wanting to see more of us on screen in ways that we can identify with. And, people might say, well, what's the big deal? We're seen, we're affirmed in language, we're affirmed in nuance and behavior, peculiarities, all of these things. Because sometimes you don't want to be othered. You just want, yo, me there with my people, them. I just always stay. So
We don't have to
again,
always translate.
thank you. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah, I think the last thing that I would say to all the people is thank you so much. We've heard, seen, like read all of your comments and all of your likes and your shares. We really appreciate it. We ask you to continue to share the trailer. Go to the website. Please, www.sugardumplingfilm.com. That's www.sugardumplingfilm.com. Yeah.
No
And then
Jeep on the dumpling.
yeah, no G on the dumpling. And you'll learn more about the project, learn more about the creative team, learn see BTS stuff, as well as you'll have an opportunity to join our mailing list. That's where you're going to actually be the first ones to learn about where we're screening. Once we start getting into our festival run and opening up different territories, once we have our festival premieres, we're gonna start having screenings in those areas, right? And so we're really excited because we're looking at like right after we do our big premiere, our official premiere in Jamaica, we're full scale rollout. We're going to be going into communities, having conversations with those in the community, having a lot of different experiences. We're looking at doing culinary experiences as well as mental health and wellness, and as well as educational and educational and DEI conversations as well. So this is a project that you will be seeing for years to come. The one thing I would say and ask you to consider, those of you that are watching and listening, is to donate. Every single dollar that's been donated is being put to good use, right? Like we said before, this is all self-funded. We put about 60 to 70 grand of our own money and our own community's money into this, and so we want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible and we can take care of repatriating those funds to make sure that we can make new projects and develop what we have. So consider also donating, because even if you're not donating it with money, you can donate with maybe you have a discount, or you can sponsor us for travel, or sponsor a hotel, or sponsor a screening space. Those are all valuable things as well, and so we're really open to figuring out, or like Donisha always like saying, like, we're creating our own ecosystem of how we're doing the thing, right? Because we're no longer relying on other voices and the current system to try and deliver our own stories. We can't trust it. It doesn't work. It's broken, frankly, and we need to figure out a new way of doing it. So consider going on the website, donating, or even donating of your time or of your resources, from the standpoint of if you have connections with flights, with hotel stays, with other film festivals that we may want to be a part of, or facilities where we can actually screen in your community.
Yeah, just to extend on what Tristan is saying, we are looking forward to people reaching out, organizations and individuals, to book potential screenings for 2025. After we do our Jamaica screening, then the sky's the limit. We no longer have any requirements or limitations around an exclusive premiere, that kind of thing. So we're hoping to be as grassroots as possible while we give the film the honor it deserves. And that requires community, like the act of community, COMEUNITY. You know, this responsibility is also an ability to respond. So we are hoping that the community takes up their responsibility and actually responds when we ask them to stand up and help us to book a theater, or help us to get a partner in this city to make the screening free for others. You know, like, we want the community to understand what it takes to tell stories, what it takes to become filmmakers. There's so many different entry points, and so we really are looking at this almost like a social science experiment too, in a way. You know, it's not very often that you get a filmmaker with a premier piece of content like Sugar Dumplin, and a legend like Oliver Samuels, to be like, okay, we're open to taking it to the community. You know, usually people are just like, no, we want to do it the standard way, this, that. So for me too, I see this as an opportunity for us to really do something unique and something truly Jamaican. You know, with how we take up space in these places. Like, we don't need a standard, we are the standard.
Well,
Boom bag.
anytime.
Boom bag. Purr, 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 purr. Yeah.
Tristan, we need all your sound effects.
Listen, Tristan, I come put the reels and rhythms, but all right, more on labrish after. So everyone, listen, thank you for joining this episode. And as I love to say at the end of every episode, walk good later. Bye. Mikelah used to say later, my peeps. Thank you so much for watching. For please participate. Do not just watch and don't do the homework that they just give with for do. So thank you, and let me say, walk good.